It's a pleasure to welcome you here tonight. I'm Louise Steinman, the curator of the Allowed series and the program director for the Library Foundation of Los Angeles, which makes all of these free events at Central Library and its branches possible. It's an honor tonight to present Christopher Hitchens, the inimitable contrarian, winner of the National Magazine Award for his Vanity Fair columns, and most recently author of God Is Not Great, How Religion Poisons Everything, a title which apparently came to Hitchens in the shower, which is where most of his ideas come from, he told a reporter, adding, "That's why I'm so clean." Christopher Hitchens will be in conversation tonight with Tim Rutten, who writes the Regarding Media column for the LA Times and is the primary book critic and associate editor of the Times feature section. We depend on Tim's column for penetrating analysis of the media, not just in our own city, but across the nation and the world, and God knows we need that analysis. He's not afraid to ask difficult questions and to raise hackles, and that's why he's a good choice to interview Christopher Hitchens, whom he will also be introducing tonight. Now, please welcome Tim Rutten. Thank you.
First of all, thank you all for coming, and I could see that many of you made a great effort to get here, and it's very much appreciated. It's my great pleasure to introduce to you my great friend and longtime conversational adversary, Christopher Hitchens, for several reasons, because I think Christopher's role as probably the greatest literary journalist of our generation, of my generation, is widely misunderstood. Christopher is often described as contrarian, by which the meaning I take from that is someone who continually takes an oppositional position. It isn't really true. Christopher Hitchens has stood for things, and he has maintained them, things like free expression, things like open inquiry, things like humane and decent societies. He stood for those things when other people were willing to let them go by the boards. I guess that makes him a contrarian, but I think of him more as he puts it, as somebody who comes from the other island, his family did at least. To me, he's a rooted man. He's rooted in great things, things of great value, and we're going to talk about some of them tonight. We're going to disagree about some of them, and then we'll hear from you. So I hope you'll join me in welcoming Christopher Hitchens here to Los Angeles.
We got that bit right.
Did indeed.
They think it's Lucozade or something. Should I start? Should I respond?
Well, yes, please do.
Well, that was extremely handsome of you, I must say. And I want to tell the people who've been good enough to come tonight, thank you very much, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, comrades, friends. Oh, I see nervous reluctance to applaud at any. That I've been up and down the country with this book, and I've been debating with Baptists in North Carolina and rabbis in Coral Gables and Al Sharpton in New York and so on. But this is actually the only evening that I booked on this trip on which I feel nervous at all. And that's because Mr. Rutten here, as he says, I've been discussing for many years, really does know what he's talking about. When it's come to religion, and that can't be said for many of the ministers. And if I wanted to ask anyone, I have sometimes had to ask, what exactly is the difference between a Melkite Greek Catholic and a Greek Orthodox and a Maronite in Lebanon? There's only one person I would know to call who would know the answer to this. And that's why it's very handsome of Tim to agree to do this, because not to make this too furry between us, not to make it too intimate or too warm or friendly. I would like, on both our behalves, to dispel that if I can right now. The critical thing is this: what is most important to him is most hateful to me. And we're here to prove that friendship is possible under those conditions. But that thought should not at all inhibit anyone, and hope won't inhibit him from. Well, I think the expression may be bringing it on. He minds about this a lot. It's a great deal to him. And he's proved it in innumerable ways, not just by his study of it, but by his devotion to it. And I have announced it to be public enemy number one. So if this all works this evening, it'll be a tribute to civilized discourse, if you insist. Okay. Thus my opening statement.
Disarming and provocative.
Sweet.
Well, let's speak by the book, or we're ruined, right? This is the book. Christopher, I'm going to read a passage to you here, and just so we can get the flavor of the argument here, and then we'll go to the substance. But if I may, you write here about how you tolerate religious expression on the parts of your friends.
Not tolerate, really.
Well, indulge, as you say.
Better, yeah.
Indulgence, yes, is the word you use. And he says, you write, there is a real and serious difference between me and my religious friends. And the real and serious friends are sufficiently honest to admit it. I would be quite content to go to their children's bar mitzvahs, to marvel at their Gothic cathedrals, to respect their belief in the Quran, that the Quran was dictated, though exclusively in Arabic, to an illiterate prophet, or to interest myself in Wicca and Hindu and Jain consolations. And as it happens, I will continue to do this without insisting on the polite reciprocal condition, which is that they, in turn, leave me alone. Right? Fair enough. But this religion is ultimately incapable of doing. As I write these words, and as you read them, and as you listen to them, people of faith are in their different ways planning your and my destruction and the destruction of all the hard-won human attainments that I have touched upon. Religion poisons everything. So religion is ultimately incapable of leaving people alone. Is that correct?
Yes, I think it is, because why not start with the benign? This isn't going to go on for too long, by the way, this benign version of our disagreement, but
right.
Why not continue with it for a little bit? I mean, for example, you, as a very, very serious Roman Catholic, must look at me and think, if you're true to your faith, I can't watch this go on any longer. I don't want Christopher to go to hell. It's not right to do it. I have a responsibility to prevent him, to exert my best efforts to stop this from happening. I can see him doing it. It's like watching a friend become a hopeless alcoholic or a drug addict or a serial killer. I must intervene. I may not watch this. I must do my best. And I know that you ought to be thinking that, and it makes me very nervous. Just as I was debating with a Calvinist in Georgia the other day, I said, well, look, do you, since you say you're Baptist, do you affirm John Calvin's teachings on hell and predestination, or do you not? And if you do not, because I know Southern hospitality often inhibits people from telling guests that they're going to hell on the first night of their stay in them. Trying to make it easy for him.
Not if you're Catholic.
But if you don't think so, could I know on what authority you don't do this? On what authority do you disagree, as well as on what authority you do? So, when, for example, now moving to the vulgar side of your church, the only Catholic who almost every secular person I know admires, or used to admire, Mother Teresa, the so-called Mother Teresa of Calcutta, journeys to the country that I know matters most to you, Ireland, to say no one in Ireland should be allowed to be divorced. I've arrived in Dublin, a town of which I know nothing, capital of a country about which I know nothing, to support the view of those who say that there can be no change in the Irish Constitution. Sorry, the Irish Constitution which forbids divorce. We don't just forbid it for Catholics. We forbid it for everybody. And it's praised by everyone. Finally, Mother Teresa's come to aid us in the argument.
Right.
And while she's there, takes the opportunity to say that not only should Irish people not be allowed abortions, but nor should they be allowed contraception. She's not saying, I have a great relationship with Jesus, and I have a wonderful church and a wonderful faith, and it makes me happy. She's saying, it better make you happy too, because whether you agree with it or not, we're going to impose it on you. Now, that distinction must clearly be apparent to everybody here. The same is true of our Muslim brothers and sisters. They say, you may not know it yet, but our prophet had the last revelation, the only one.
Right, the final one. There's always a final revelation.
Ultimate one.
Yeah.
Your revelations were not bad. We agree with you about the virgin birth. We agree with you about various of the more horrible Mosaic prohibitions. You notice that Islam plagiarizes from Judaism and Christianity only the most horrible bits and leaves out the Greek stuff. It does. But they do all that. They say, well, we even think you're people of the book. They tolerate you, in other words. They say, we tolerate you. I'm not going to be tolerated by these people. They say, but we've got something last and final, ultimate. You only need this one book. If you only get round to believing in it, you would be happy. But we can't be happy until you do. Now, I'm very sorry. I'm extremely sorry to say this, and I'll put it as mildly as I can, but I decline to be spoken to in that tone of voice by anybody. I hope that's plain.
Fair enough.
I hope that's absolutely plain. I won't be talked to like that. I'm not going to be tolerated by the admirers of an illiterate Middle Eastern peasantry.
No, I see that.
I think we'd be better off outgrowing it.
We've all, this is also a bit of, if I may say, the method of this book, which I enjoy immensely. By the way, I do agree with Shalom Aleichem that in the shtetl there were only two people who were really serious about God. One was the rabbi, and the other was the village atheist. Everybody else was just sort of going along. Now,
No, but wait, I have to do this now. You've done
Go right ahead.
The third was the guy, it's mentioned in a great story by Irving Howe, which I think he borrowed from Isaac Singer, the man who stands on the wall of the shtetl. I think it's the town of Helm. And when the visitors come, he's always standing on the city wall looking out over the plains. And they ask him, well, what are you doing there, just standing there? And he said, no, I'm not just standing here. They pay me to stand here. Well, what do they pay you to do, standing there? Well, they pay me to watch out for the Messiah. And to tell and ring this bell when he's coming. And they say, so what's it like? He said, well, steady work.
That's true enough. That's true enough.
It's man-made, ladies.
It's man-made, yes, and constructed in much the same clever way that this argument is constructed, because we've slid from the debatable point to the inarguable ones. And the debatable, but I want to circle back to that debatable point, because we have experience to draw on. You and I have been friends for how many years?
Well, I remember very distinctly when I first met you, which would have to be 83.
83.
So we're getting on for a quarter of a century.
Or a quarter of a century.
Of doing this.
And we even did a film together on religion.
Mr. Rutten and I circled Los Angeles interviewing everyone from Lubavitcher rabbis to New Age mavens to Wiccans and Satanists.
And the people who worship the atomic bomb. Remember them?
Yes, I remember
they were the followers of a deranged Polish countess.
I remember the bomb worshippers, but then eschatology is one of my big worries, especially now, because all religion, in a sense, has to hope for the end of days.
Right.
Does hope for it.
But Christopher,
secretly or openly, wants this to be over. It's one of the things I don't like, I have to say.
Well, of course, yeah. But
they can. I don't mind if they go, but I don't want them taking me with them. Rapture yourself, big boy.
But Christopher, in all this time, have I ever made a single proselytizing remark to you?
No, you have not. But and it wouldn't be your style. But that's why I took you up